Thank you.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you, Chairman Frazier and Assembly members, for the opportunity to address you this afternoon. My name is Dan Mitchell. I'm the Assistant General Manager of the City of Los Angeles Department of Transportation and its Chief Engineer. I also have a master's degree in Transportation Systems from UC Irvine. Go Anteaters? No? All right. And I'd like to build on Mr. Chittenden's remarks and to present the city perspective here of the challenges that we experience. California's greatest transportation challenges and opportunities are in its cities. Here, where millions of people and countless tons of goods need to move across and throughout the city, crossing paths and creating challenges for safety, efficiency, environmental impacts, and quality of life. Cities are experiencing a cultural shift toward urban living, active transportation, and new transportation alternatives. New technology has resulted in rapidly changing traffic patterns and new forms of transportation that have popped up, like Uber and Lyft, demand-based transportation. At the same time that these exciting developments are taking place, people are being killed and injured in cities at an alarming rate while they're just trying to get around town. The City of Los Angeles has one of the highest rates of traffic death among large U.S. cities. About 95 collisions per day are occurring on our streets, and with over 200 traffic fatalities a year occurring in the city, someone is dying nearly every day in Los Angeles while just moving through the city. And these outcomes are disproportionately affecting those that are walking and bicycling. People walking and bicycling are involved in just 14% of all collisions, but they account for nearly half of all traffic deaths. These staggering and sad statistics are not unique to Los Angeles. And in fact, NHTSA recently announced that in the first 9 months of 2015, the U.S. saw a steep 9% increase in traffic deaths in the United States. In response, and in a trend that's been growing throughout the country, in August 2015, the City of Los Angeles joined the cities of San Francisco, San Jose, and San Diego with Mayor Eric Garcetti's launch of the Vision Zero campaign. The goal of Vision Zero is to eliminate traffic deaths in the city by 2025, with a short-term goal of a 20% reduction by 2017. This initiative relies on a comprehensive approach of education, engineering, enforcement, and the key here to this discussion, evaluation. That final element provides the tie-in to our discussion today. Unlocking the potential of technology is the key to addressing these transportation issues in California cities. One example is the development and evaluation of innovative technology approaches for the application of traffic control strategies and devices on our streets. This includes the analysis of crash data to identify not only where people are being hurt, but identifying the characteristics of streets and intersections that lead to these outcomes. Another example is supporting the development of vehicle technologies to prevent crashes and reduce the severity of injuries. This includes the automated and connective vehicle technologies that you've heard about. And as you've heard, the research of the University of California's Institute of Transportation Studies has great potential to help cities in addressing our transportation needs. It's essential, as Mr. Chittenden mentioned, that this research be practical, timely, and application-based, ready-to-use research for large cities. LADOT has a long tradition of partnering with our colleges and universities in a variety of ways, sometimes to support university-initiated projects, but primarily to evaluate the effectiveness of various treatments and strategies throughout the city. But the opportunities have been limited by a lack of available funding. The research that's been performed over the years in the City of Los Angeles has been through relatively low-cost or no-cost partnerships, which has limited the scope and depth of these studies, thus limiting their usefulness. The City of Los Angeles Department of Transportation strongly supports a significant increase in funding for the University of California Institute of Transportation Studies to unlock the full potential of the world-class research facilities that we have in our own backyard. Further, LADOT stands ready to support this effort in conjunction with other major California cities through the development of research needs statements and draft scopes of work to guide this broader research effort toward the practical application-based research that we so desperately need. The traditional research funding path flows through the state, and as a result, the research performed generally has a broader state highway system focus and does not fully capture the needs of California's cities. Last year, LA worked to kick off a group of transportation directors from California's 8 largest cities to help improve peer-to-peer sharing. And we believe that this group that's going to meet again this Friday might be a great forum to help develop these research needs statements. In closing, the City of Los Angeles has a long-standing tradition of being on the cutting edge of implementing innovative transportation technology through the support of state and federal funding. This includes ATSAC, our world-class traffic signal system with adaptive control, and more recently the implementation of demand-based parking pricing with LA Express Park. With the rapid progress in transportation technology, LADOT is not waiting, but taking a proactive stance through the development of a transportation technology strategy thanks to a grant from the Goldhurst Foundation. But the City of Los Angeles and all of California's cities would benefit greatly from a significant increase in transportation research funding to ensure the state's economic vitality, to protect our environmental impact and the quality of life in our neighborhoods, and to help eliminate traffic deaths on our streets. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Jang,
Thank you.
not last,
Okay.
but
Thank
not
you.
least either.
Last but not least. Good afternoon, Chair Fraser, members. Tilly Chang. I serve as the Executive Director of the San Francisco County Transportation Authority. I'm very pleased to be here to offer some testimony from the local level on this important topic. I'm also an alumnus, proud alumnus of Berkeley. Go Bears. Number 4 in the seat, right? We're going to go all the way. So, and as the Director of our Transportation Authority, I just also want to express our great appreciation for your leadership, Chair Fraser, on all aspects of our transportation policy work over the past several years, and going forward, we're very excited to have this committee's support for our industry. Transportation is such a cornerstone of our economy, and I think I want to start by answering, perhaps take a pass at answering your question that you posed to us at the beginning. What are the big results, the benefits that we hope to gain from investing further and deepening our investment in transportation research? First would be the evidence-based research that is produced. The basic research is so critical for us to be able to advise you, our policymakers, with confidence that those are the right approaches, the right investments, and the right methods for us to be investing in our system. 2, and Ross mentioned this as well, leveraging federal dollars, leveraging local dollars that the voters have approved at the county level. We are as well a transportation authority, and our voters absolutely recognize the importance of advancing research, using data to justify our investments, and they demand that in order to be persuaded that these are the right investments, these are the cost-effective investments to make. But those matching dollars are now also coming from the private sector. In fact, I think others also mentioned the nonprofit sector. So we are seeing more and more dollars coming in, including from the private and nonprofit sectors, that we in the state of California at the local level should be matching with our public dollars. Third, the public engagement. I very much appreciated Assemblymember Brown's question, and I'll be touching on that as well when I speak about some of the research-funded work that we received in San Francisco, and also on safety from the Office of Transportation Safety and SafeTrek, engaging our low-income communities of color. Okay, so here we are. The key areas of collaboration that I'll be speaking about as far as our observations of the value of this technology research in San Francisco are the Safety and Vision Zero Initiative, topic of congestion management, very much linked, of course, to emissions reduction, and the professional and sector development that speaks to the economic development and investment of these programs. Here's a snapshot from last year where we were privileged to have NHTSA Director Mark Rosenkind, as well as Rhonda Kraft from the Director Office of Traffic Safety in San Francisco, hosted by Mayor Lee and some members of my board, Jane Kim, among others, really having that collaborative workshop so that we can have the dialogue and the discussion about the tremendous goal that is the cultural shift that we are trying to engage at the local level. This is something that is akin to addressing smoking, using seat belts, composting, recycling. These are not easy behavioral changes to make, and yet the way that we can bring research into the education, the enforcement, the engineering, and the evaluation efforts is only possible if you have this multi-level federal, state, local partnership as well as with the private sector. And so these types of activities which were funded, again, by the Office of Traffic Safety here, were very valuable. In fact, we had 4 assessments, pedestrian safety assessments, after we launched our Vision Zero initiative in the South of Market area, which is dominated by communities of color, lower income families, Filipino, Asian, Chinese American, and also Latino families, all who are living in a place where 70% of the trips in the South of Market are pass-through trips. We have every numbered street in San Francisco more or less has a ramp, an off-ramp or an on-ramp. And this literally is the intersection of the state network with our local network. And so we are very much focused on engaging those communities because that is their life, this is their neighborhood, and there are 2 schools literally in the SOMA which represent the middle school, Bessie Carmichael, and the elementary school, also named by Bessie Carmichael, in a segment right there that are the highest 2 schools with collisions, unfortunately, in the state of California. So it is absolutely critical that we are laser focused, not just on the technical work, but really the engagement with the community, showing them that we are here to listen and we are communicating in culturally appropriate ways, and that this work is being funded by the state. It's very meaningful. It's very appreciated. The databases, I'll mention on data collection, for example. We need to be making sure that we're capturing data that is often underreported by certain communities, many communities who fail to understand how important it is to reach out and to work with law enforcement and to provide that data. SafeTrek and their database, TIMS, is very important. We rely on it heavily for our studies, and those are programs out of the state-funded research program through UC Berkeley and ITS. That we're also informing the CHP's forms. So it's a 2-way collaboration where we're trying to ensure that the state's collecting the right data, for example, on its forms. Through planning and design studies, we're making sure that our designs are effective and that we are measuring as we go and that we're ensuring that those investments are happening on the ground. In terms of evaluation and policy, for example, I'll give you another example. Assemblymember Chu from San Francisco was able to reauthorize his transit-only lane enforcement program last year for buses, AB 1287, and that was because we were able to show and demonstrate the efficacy of the policy, and that is, of course, the basic value of research and evaluation. Of course, what's coming is the connected and autonomous vehicles. In fact, we were very, very fortunate to be named among 6 other cities in the nation this past weekend by the United States Department of Transportation Secretary Fox announcing a Smart Cities grant. It's a $50 million prize for one lucky city. We are at least in the running for that. 77 cities across the United States applied for this, including many in California. We were not the only ones. There's a tremendous demand at the local level for bringing research and pilots and local efforts together with the federal and state and investment in this. So this type of leadership is absolutely desired and very, very much needed. Research around changing now to perhaps another topic on congestion management and on emissions reduction. And you're seeing here many initiatives that are being piloted up and down the state of California. I very much appreciate Dan Mitchell's comments about pilots and Ross's as well. Pilots are the way to go. We have found that you can demonstrate communicating appropriately and engaging with the community how it is that we are going to try something. We may not succeed, but we will certainly learn from each other, especially as we go. And occasionally we will succeed. And guess what? There's no model. As much as I'm a believer in modeling, and we do invest in modeling, and we appreciate the ITS investments on that scale, sometimes you can have dueling models, and you just need to see it on the ground. Let's try it in a safe and appropriate way, and then document it. And so whether it worked or whether it didn't, that has tremendous value. And so you're seeing here, for example, things like bus rapid transit, which we're pioneering in California, express lane systems. We're using incentives, not just pricing, but carrots to incentivize reduction of BART crowding in the morning through the tube, as well as on Treasure Island, new models of doing development in a way that encompasses all the different mobility choices that we want to offer to our communities when we're creating development, sustainable development, including new ferry service, low impact, low carbon ferry service that I know CCTA is also very interested in piloting, as well as mobility services such as not just shuttles, but driverless shuttles, ways to reduce cost and increase mobility. Here's an example also focused with UC Berkeley, a partnership that we're using, using AT&T's technology to provide big data, helping us to understand travel patterns on Treasure Island, on and off the island, in fact, along the whole I-80 corridor, again, connecting us with our sister agency, the CCTA. And AT&T is partnering with UC Berkeley, and we are the lucky beneficiaries of that research, so that we have access to this huge data set, allowing us to have a rich understanding of work trips, of residential trips, of school trips, and other types of trips that will help us design those communities in the best way. Finally, I'll just echo again Ross's comment about the importance of investing in our future workforce and to keep up to date our existing workforce. These trends are unprecedented. We've never been faced, I don't think, with the types of technology-enabled transportation and other sort of pressing socioeconomic issues such as affordable housing and displacement. And in fact, we draw and rely so heavily on our research community for help in both areas. Director Bayan spoke about his research, and then Tom West as well as in the PATH side. There's also Susan Shaheen and others doing a shared mobility research, as well as Karen Chappell at Berkeley, for example, doing very important anti-displacement affordable housing research, as well as, of course, down in UCLA, Brian Taylor, we use his research all the time. He's very much focusing on economic and socioeconomic impacts. So these are all important investments that we're making in our future workforce, but also in our current workforce, so that we can be sharp and that we can be as prepared as possible to respond to the demand for policy advice from you, our elected officials, and our policy and the public. So with that, I'm happy to answer questions along with the rest of the panel.
Thank you for that. I really love bringing people that have the grassroots experience to share with us their experience level going forward. So anyone can grab this one. What role could the state play in assisting your agencies acquire grants from other sources such as the federal government? So what role could the state play in helping your agencies?
Well, I'll jump in first. Again, I'll talk about it, not so much from the CCTA perspective, but from the perspective that we have 19 cities in the county. So it's again, very hard for a lot of folks that are really just day-to-day putting out brush fires to figure out how a lot of the changes that are coming about, whether it's stormwater, something new happens, climate change, a lot of changes keep piling up on these poor folks that are really just trying to keep the traffic moving on their cities or keep the bus lines operating. So it's I think expanding, or just one example, there's many examples, but really expanding the peer exchange and the training that try to find a way to deliver it where people work. That's one of the reasons why we do this brown bag at lunch. People can come in and take 2 hours out of their day, not a whole day to travel to somewhere else. So it's finding ways to expand that so people can do it in their office, they can do it online, really, and then really the peer exchange, bringing people together. Again, it's we all read about it and model it and things like that, as Tilly was saying, is when we can see it really working, or talk to somebody who has the same job as me, that, yeah, it worked in my city, and, well, I'm different over here. Well, if I talk to somebody, maybe I'm not really different, and or maybe there's just one different nut you have to crack to get there. So I think the example I'd really like to put out is expand the training and getting the results of the research out into the hands of the folks that can deploy it.
Dan Mitchell, I'd suggest that the best way that you can help us be more competitive for federal funding is both by investing in the research that helps us to develop projects that are focused and efficient at actually accomplishing our goals, as well as funding that helps us develop projects. So there's a lot of money available to implement things, but to help us prepare those applications on the front end, so that we've got the research in the background to develop the projects, then we've got a more competitive application for going after the larger funding.
Mm-hmm. And I would only add to that again, the public engagement part, which I think is in the communications part. The research is fundamental. We do need more research dollars, and documenting that they're doing a great job at the universities, but really deploying it and involving the public so that we can apply that research in practical ways.
So what do you think the state could do to encourage innovation, more innovation?
I think the partnerships are happening, but I think there could be even more opportunities for public and private investment. There are challenge grants out there. The state does this already, and that it really works. You know, this Smart Cities prize that the U.S. Department of Transportation is doing is having the intended effect. They put $50 million out there, and hundreds of cities are aiming for it. The state does this as well. So I think just having that state investment out there, the public dollars out there, but also doing a call, as Malcolm, Director Doherty is doing, is really having a broad-based conversation with the private sector and the public sector, and emphasizing partnerships. The research community is an absolute reason why we are a finalist city in San Francisco. So that's already working. How do we broaden those partnerships? And in some cases, it's public partnerships, not just public-private.
Ms. Brown?
Yes, I wanted to ask the question. Thank you again for your presentations. I wanted to ask the question, are we using cap and trade money for any of these projects that you're talking about, or funding to develop projects?
So cap and
Go ahead.
yeah, I mean, cap
Or
and
can
trade,
it be used for that?
absolutely. Cap and trade, of course, is going into affordable housing, sustainable transportation, active transportation, and high-speed rail. All of these areas, I think, are tremendous needs. One area that is not targeted by cap and trade per se is safety. However, through the investment in active transportation, through the biking and the walking, through the congestion management, we are absolutely also investing in safety, for example.
And I'd like to add, I think it's a great question, because that really is one of our dwindling, or one of the few sources in our dwindling supply of state dollars. I think it's something that really I'd challenge this committee to look into. So much of the technology that we're talking about is going to result in dramatic reductions in emissions. You saw some of the charts earlier from some of the speakers, and we really need to get at the forefront of that. And it really could spill over a little bit into investing in people's daily lives and what they really do. As an example, we have a pilot that we're getting off the ground in one of our cities where somebody buys an electric car, and sometimes they'll go in and wire the charger by themselves, and we really don't want them to do that. So we've worked with the city. They're going to provide the permits for free. PG&E is going to have a list of vendors. They'll come in and do it for a fixed price, and then we'll subsidize it a little bit. And those are the kinds of things that, it's a very small little program, but it could really make a big difference. And something like that would, at least in my mind, make a lot of sense from the cap and trade perspective.
And LADOT is participating as well, primarily through partnering with affordable housing developers to identify those elements that Tilly identified, the active transportation components and safety-related components to complement those developments.
Thank you for that. So what types of research questions are best tackled by the state, and which are best tackled by the locals and regions?
Well, I would just to go back to my remarks earlier. I think that that partnering with the local agencies, with the large cities, to help develop these research needs statements that can address some of the most pressing needs. That would be developing and evaluating new traffic control devices, traffic control strategies that can, very quickly and cost effectively make a difference on our streets. As well as just really looking towards making those safety improvements. I think that by engaging the cities firsthand to develop those research needs statements, we can help to drive part of the agenda, which we haven't had the opportunity to do.
Yeah, and I'd like to echo that, because I don't know if that was the intent of your question, Chair, but I think Mr. Mitchell made a comment earlier about a lot of the prioritization being done at the state level for state funding, and if there was a crack open for us to participate in that, I think that would be very welcome, because I was struggling with the question what's better for locals in the state, I don't know that there's an answer. I think it's both. We have to do this in partnership because our systems come together. There's really the days of theirs and ours are kind of over. We have to manage the entire system. So I think it'd be very welcome if we could find a way to help our needs to get put into the mix.
I do think it's useful for those of us who can do our own research and document our own experience, if the state can qualify that and disseminate it to especially communities that are maybe not able to invest to the level that we are in some of our own pilots. That said, I think that the state also is a tremendous partner with us in tackling the very deep challenges that we face as big cities as well, or the bigger cities. But having the ability to disseminate across the medium and small sized cities is a really important function as well at the state level.
Thank you for that. So essentially, I want to thank the Department of Transportation for San Francisco and LA and their Vision Zero program. I've talked to Mayor Garcetti about it, and I'm absolutely head over heels for this process of that implementation and looking forward to its successful outcomes. Of course, I'm a former commissioner from this Contra Costa Transportation Authority, CCTA, and some of the work that they've been doing, and by their urging, went to UC Berkeley to look at the process for IT and whatnot in the integration and their investment through their measure money on the I-80 corridor with ICM. So they are trying to utilize their resources for congestion management to on I think it's $80 million project going forward in that corridor where there is no additional capacity that can be acquired. And so we're looking at opportunities for that to be successful also. I just want to reiterate that when we look at partnerships and we look at the opportunities to be able to communicate through local RTPCs and differentials, not one size fits all, that the adaptive management skills could be acquired, that we have this possibility to be able to encourage and look at process that we can utilize for others that, like Ross had said, doesn't so much work for me, but with a little bit of work I can make it adapt and move forward. And success is the only outcome that we're looking for. You set the goal. How you get there is a matter of process, right? But the outcome is what we're looking for in success. So, IT, where we myself, are looking for instant results from congestion management, which has been elaborated many times about what it can do for reductions for GHG. Mm-hmm. And so I think I come back to the process that the UCs have been able to leverage this by a factor of 30, mm-hmm. this investment, which is monumental. Mm-hmm. And so for us to be able to expand on that and be able to increase that ability to be the world leaders in this kind of technology is paramount at this time. So I want to really thank all of you for coming today and providing your insight. I would like to invite any members of the public that like to bring forward any comments and we have a gentleman come. I want to thank you for coming, and we'll excuse the panel for coming up today. Thank you very much. Sir, please state your name and who you represent in about 2 minutes.
Sure thing. Chair Frazier and members, Michael Pimentel with the California Transit Association, here today to voice the association's longstanding support and appreciation for the work that the Institute for Transportation Studies carries out. As you know, public transit is charged with meeting the ambitious goals of reducing greenhouse gas emissions, improving air quality, increasing access, and maintaining low-cost fares while facing declining state and federal support. Achieving these goals, therefore, requires the application of ongoing research and sound policy analysis to maximize the societal benefits of every dollar spent on public transit. Transit agencies look to our partners at ITS for cutting-edge evidence-based analysis and tools, as well as workforce training to ensure employees are fully informed on new transit technologies, programs, and tools. ITS provides this through formal training at association events and informal training and networking opportunities that many of our members frequently attend in the form of online webinars, policy forums, and conferences. And so I know that the chair of the budget subcommittee had indicated that very likely there will be an item taken up to increase funding for ITS, and the association will be in support of that. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other members of the public that like to comment during this period? Seeing none, first of all, I would just love to thank one of our committee staffers, Justin. This is his first hearing that he's put together for us, and I want to thank you for that. Yeah, please. So we're going to keep him on steady. So thank you. I used to call him Josh, but now he's Justin. But I want to thank all of our panelists today. As we have heard, while California conducts cutting-edge technological research today, we could be doing much more to encourage innovation and the development of practical, applicable research products. If we are here to continue our proud tradition of innovation, the legislature should consider allocating additional resources to our research institutes to ensure our transportation system is as efficient, sustainable, and optimized as possible. New technologies will be critical in achieving California's ambitious economic, energy, air quality, greenhouse gas reduction, and social equity goals, as well as our safety goals. I thank our panelists for sharing their insights with this critical issue, and I look forward to working with my colleagues in the legislature to ensure California's research program retains its world-class quality far into the future. With that, I'd like to adjourn this hearing in memory of Officer Nathan Taylor, who lost his life protecting our highways up on Highway 80 this weekend. And with that, I'm going to adjourn this session.